I just started throwing darts at the wall, like trying different things, trying different graphic designs, like how you guys are teaching yourself how to podcast, or I'm sure you guys did, I was teaching myself how to do video edits and graphic design, and I was cold calling all legislators in Minnesota, like county commissioners, because all of a sudden now with COVID, lobbyists can't meet with them. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna lobby and advocate digitally with them.
Yeah. So I think that's important for the audience. Maybe walk through what exactly Better in Your Backyard does.
We promote responsible industrial development. So whether you're looking to build a new mine or a new pipeline, or a data center, say, if as long as you fit within our mission and we think it's a good project for your region or for your community, we'll bring you in.
Please help us welcome Ryan Sistad to the face.
Warning: explicit content. This material may not be suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
Gotta find a way, gotta be willing to go put in some elbow grease, cause you know nothing that you get in this life comes free. Gotta work all day, gotta pay.
Hello miners, hello podcast listeners, welcome into Mining Minds, welcome into the 2025 American Exploration and Mining Association's annual meeting here in Reno, Nevada, hanging out with my man Dino Brunson.
What is good?
And we have the privilege and opportunity to hang out with none other than Executive Director for Better in Our Backyards, Ryan Sistad. Welcome in, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Dude, we got an official celebrity today.
I know. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, it's cool to watch what you're doing for the industry. I know we'll dive into that, but thank you for what you're doing first and foremost.
I appreciate that. Likewise, by the way.
Thanks for showing up this morning at 9 o'clock, man. I heard you.
Well, I was a little late, so yeah.
So it's all good. So was I.
I heard you were going to be here, and I'm like, oh, dude, we got to see if he wants to. We got to talk to you anyway, right? But I wanted to see if we could get you on the show, and you said, "Hey, yeah, I'll be there."
Yeah,
so thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun. So, you guys do great work, and to be a part of that is awesome. So, thank you.
Well, I think it's pretty cool, man, to be able to finally meet you. We are all pushing for the industry in a positive way, right? You've got your niche, and you've got your expertise that. We're in each other's backyard, but we're not competing for anything. And I think we bring some cool elements on how we can help each other. So,
well, let's start it out, dude. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Walk through little Ryan.
I was born in Fosston, Minnesota, which is in northwest Minnesota, about an hour east of Grand Forks in North Dakota, and mainly grew up in southern Minnesota. And then I've been living in Duluth now for a little over 10 years, and been running Better in Our Backyard now for almost 7. And previously, I was in project management with a company called Parsons Electric.
Okay.
So I worked a lot in construction, both as a laborer throughout college and then as a young assistant PM/PM coming out of it.
Did you spend any time at Devil's Lake?
A little bit, yeah. I worked construction there one summer. I did. There was a summer my freshman year of college, so looking back on it, I'm glad that she did it, but my mom was pretty strict with me on, you got to pay your own way for school.
Oh yeah.
And so my parents overall, but it was definitely my mom driving it. So there was one summer I worked road construction because it paid the most and gave me the most hours, and we were going around Devil's Lake and Minot and Bismarck and I didn't hit Williston, but I've been all over North Dakota.
That's some rough country, man.
Wow, so Devil's Lake is awesome.
I'm pretty sure I got a couple of gray hairs as a 19-year-old working out there for 90 hours a week for 3 months.
So let's talk about when you were little, though. What did mom and dad do?
So, my mom and dad growing up, they were never together. So I was fortunate to have a dad that was very present with me, and then a stepdad that treated me like his too. And a stepmom. And so my mom growing up has always been very good with the crop insurance industry. Both my mom and my dad grew up in farming communities in Fosston, both grew up on a farm. So my mom, she actually runs her own crop insurance company now, and she's pretty successful in that actually. And then my dad has been a trucker for the last 30-some years with the Teamsters.
Oh, wow.
And then...
What does he haul? Specific, or does it just...
He's a dairy guy.
Heck yeah, he's a milkman, buddy.
He's an interesting guy because we, a year or so after I was born, he got a job at a company called Land O'Lakes, driving truck, and and then he just left Land O'Lakes 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I asked him, I'm like, Dad, there's like a trucking shortage. Why is this difficult for you to find a different trucking job? Like, I mean, anyone would kill to have you and your resume. And he's like, well, it's got to be dairy, you know? And so he waited for another dairy route to open up at a different company, at a local competitor, and went there. And I didn't know there was some, till I talked to my dad through it with him, there's some truckers that stay in the same, you know, industry and field and what they're hauling.
So our grandpa actually hauled milk in Michigan.
Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah, so that's where our dad's originally from,
okay.
right?
Gaylord.
I would just say Michigan because I think he was all over the place, but you're right, Gaylord is where he grew up. But my grandpa was a milk delivery guy, and we podcasted him a couple years back, and he told this story about he was backing down into one of his customers, and he left his doors open and dropped all of his milk into Lake Michigan. And I was like, yeah, good job, Gramps. But I think back then you could probably drink a little bit of vodka while you were cruising.
Yeah. Just to get through those long shifts towards the end of the night. Yeah.
Well, and so as a young kid into sports, extracurricular activities.
Yeah. So I was into baseball quite a bit, and then got into weightlifting quite a bit in high school, and loved playing football. But my main love was baseball.
What position?
Then second base.
Okay. Nice. So, middle infield, man.
Second, and then my coaches, I was always a short, stocky kid, so they would always want to put me at third, but I hated third.
Yeah.
The hot seat, bro.
You got to be quick at third, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, your arm's got to be, you got to have a strong arm.
Yeah.
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 And I was a second baseman, too, just because I wasn't big, but I was fast, and I could get up the middle if I needed to.
I was short and third, so I hate, dude, those line fucking drives that you're. I got knocked out one time. I was backhanding a ball, come off third base and hit me in my temple and dropped me over.
That actually happened to me. Where like my last year playing baseball in high school, I had a couple practices in a row where it hit me in the nose, and I used to be that kid, I'm sure you were too, where you just loved taking grounders all day long.
Yes.
Once that happened to me, I think my coach just had me as DH for the rest of the year, because every time I'd get a grounder, I'd flinch a little bit.
Do you remember the movie Major League?
Yeah.
Goddamn Dorns, get on the damn ball.
It was definitely a Dorn or a Chuck Knobloch scenario I was going through. So
that's awesome.
I mean, it was, it was not, And
Did you continue baseball after high school?
No, my dad pushed me a little bit because I went to the University of North Dakota. So growing up, I mainly grew up in southern Minnesota. My dad was always in Grand Forks, and so I wanted to make a point of getting to live by him. I never really lived close to him, so I wanted to know what that felt like. So I still lived in the dorms, but he was like, pushing me to like try out for, because I had a great arm and I loved pitching, but my problem was I threw too fast, so I'd only last a few innings because I was always throwing my arm out. But I mean, not in a bad, I never got injured, I never had surgery or anything, but just my arm was sore after an inning or two. And
how fast were you ripping the ball?
The only time I got clocked was when I was in sixth grade, because we were in this pre-qualifier for the Little League World Series, and I think I was at like 55 miles per hour as a sixth grader. Yeah. Like, I mean, I usually closed out the game.
Well, I was going to say, they should have put you as a closer if you were.
That's where I was at. I mean, I enjoyed that. I loved
pitching you 6 innings, man. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
And for whatever reason, I had a lot of confidence in pitching just because I felt like I had control. Like if I, felt like the batter was on to me, then I would just, throw it at his chest, just to scare him a little bit. I just loved knowing that I could control the tempo a little bit. And then
I'm bringing that smoke.
Well, baseball is such a psychological game that people don't understand either. There's so many X's and O's and chessboard or pieces of the chessboard moving that if you never played baseball on a technical level, I guess what I should say is you don't know.
Well, baseball's kind of like if golf were to meet basketball or football, where because of what you just said, the psychological thing to it, there's a reason why there's guys that look like they're playing beer league softball that are in the majors, because they probably have the mental thing part. They may not have the physical part look to it, but inside they have that confidence where, you probably can't get away with that in a very physical sport like basketball or hockey or football where you're constantly on the run. But in baseball, I mean, there's certain positions that you can kind of get away with, and as long as you have that.
Yeah, look at Babe Ruth, man.
Yeah,
Dude, Babe Ruth, John Daly. If you want to be a golfer,
no shit. Sponsoring this episode of the podcast is Safety First Training and Consulting, headquartered here in Elko, Nevada, but mobile enough to reach you anywhere throughout the United States. These guys can cover it all, from MSHA approved and new miner training, annual refresher courses for both surface and underground. They can help support with health testing like spirometry, respirator fit tests. They even offer courses like fall protection. So head on over to their website at safetyfirstelco.com. Check them out. Their mission is to help your crew adopt an ownership mindset. Not just do the training, but live the training safely every shift. With top-notch instructors and hands-on classes, Safety First Training and Consulting makes sure you're not just compliant, you're confident. Give these guys a visit at safetyfirstelco.com. Well, so played baseball. You were a Bison then?
No, as Sioux.
Sioux, sorry. Yeah,
and then they
you're
changed
right,
it to,
yeah, you're right.
the Fighting Sioux to the Fighting Hawks. I still kind of flinched. But
they were pissed about that
my
too.
freshman year is the year that they started thinking about changing it, and then by the time I got my sophomore year, they changed it. But it's kind of it's funny too. They built a stadium called the Ralph Engelstad Arena, and I'm not a big hockey guy. I'm not at all. But I was, for whatever reason, I was fascinated with this, where the guy that donated it, he was a local multimillionaire. I don't know what he was worth, but his name was Ralph Engelstad, and he knew that, with the way politics was shifting, the way, everything was going before he died, when he built Ralph, or when he donated all the money to build Ralph Engelstad, the rumor is, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I know it is within the building, the Sioux logo is in every brick of the Ralph, and also within the granite marble throughout the hallways. That I know for sure. So that, he's like, if you guys ever change the name or change the logo, you would have to rip out the stadium.
Every piece of brick.
And the name has changed and everything, but when you walk into the Ralph, it's still like it's the Fighting Sioux.
Yeah, I remember that, dude.
Why did they change the name? Is it because it wasn't politically correct?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think it was a lot of, there's a lot of conspiracy theories around it, but the unfortunate thing is that the tribal member that did develop that logo, from my understanding, defended her design.
Yep, 100%.
And saying that these colors are meant for pride and and
there was pride in it.
And you look at the Sioux logo itself; it's an obviously strong alpha tribal member.
Yep,
as the face.
And I think you're right. There's a lot of controversy, whatever, but I think the people who originally developed it, there was purpose, intent, and meaning behind it. And when they took that away, it was kind of a slap in the face to some of those people.
Yeah.
What did you go to school for?
Business management.
Okay.
So,
were you good with numbers? Is that why you...
I wouldn't say numbers. I mean, I struggled in account. I just knew I wanted to own a business at a young age. I saw my stepdad try to start a business growing up, and then my mom was always very good with sales, and I just knew I wanted to, do my own company. And then when I was working in construction and throughout college, I wanted to be a project manager and try that. But yeah, I mean, I just knew I wanted to do my own thing.
So entrepreneur, you're thinking early on.
A little bit, yeah. And then I didn't really fully embrace it though until I did a few years of corporate world, and I kind of realized, okay, this won't.
You're like, I'm grinding for somebody else pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm grinding for someone else, and we're, and I hope I'm not offending anyone listening on the podcast when I say this or anything, but I just knew it wasn't the cards for me. When you're making X amount of money for a company, and I worked for a great company, and they took care of their employees. Great CEO. He took the company out of bankruptcy at the time. He's retired now. Really looked up to him. I mean, they're doing projects all across the country, over 1,000 electricians, one of the second largest electrical contractor in Minnesota. But it was just at the end of the year, you work your butt off and you're negotiating between a 7% raise and a 10% raise. And and then when you break down the salary of your starting salary, I mean, it's not that much of an increase in comparison to the revenues or the different profit streams that you're bringing in. And it's like, okay, well, I just kind of got to this point where it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to be broke or not having much money in the bank, I'd rather be doing it betting on myself.
Yes.
Than good on you though, man, because most people don't do that. I think I was in the position when I came out of college that you start making some money, they give you just enough to pay your bills, feel a little bit comfortable, but you got to go back to work, right? And it's like, it took me till later in life. I mean, I had a couple businesses when I was 18 to 25 that I wish that I still had. It's almost like that old car, right? Because there is a lot of value doing things for yourself. And so now that's what I teach my daughter, or both my daughters, is if you're going to grind for yourself. You can always get a job, right?
But
not many parents would give that advice to their kids before they're graduated. I mean, I've noticed, because I got a couple buddies that tried entrepreneurialism, that are going into it. And their parents are scared, and they're like,
take
oh, are you sure,
route.
Take the safe. So that's good. That's
good.
good.
I guess my messaging it's like, knowing what I know now, I wish I knew back then. It's like, fail a million times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll be here to support you, it can't be a forever thing, but try something to show yourself what you can do.
Well, there's a certain amount of assumed risk that you need to take as an individual. And so if you're not very risk adverse, then you're probably not going to be, not that you won't be an entrepreneur or not going to be a successful one, but for people who are willing to risk it for the biscuit, as we always say, right? That's a big thing. You got to be able to pivot, change. But the grind, for me, that's where I learned I'm working my ass off for somebody else. I think it's healthy to be in those positions, to go and work for somebody else, see what that looks like, and then realize you can do that for yourself. And it sounds like that's what you did.
A little bit, yeah. So I kind of went in the middle where, so I was working at Parsons, and then so in Duluth, in Minnesota in general, like they just love NGOs and nonprofits, and as you're seeing in the news probably a lot lately.
Yeah, there's a lot of news about
but
Minnesota.
we love our NGOs. And
why do you think that is?
A lot of those might be going away,
I don't know.
too.
It's, not to get political. I mean, it's just a historically very liberal state, and they just like their NGOs. And so there's a lot of them that are against mining. There's, MCA. I know Julie battles them a lot, and then Save the Boundary Waters, and then Friends of the Boundary Waters. And they all have a very simple business model where, let's say, basically they're there to stop new industrial development with their focus on a specific project. So like an MCA is going a big, was focused on stopping Polymet, or is focused, and now Polymet's called New Range, obviously. I saw that you guys visited their site, and then and then Save the Boundary Waters and Friends of the Boundary Waters are looking to stop twin metals or any other exploration activities by any other mining company looking to drill. And then there's Tamarack Water Alliance against Talon Metals. And then, interestingly enough, too, in the region, there's some data centers that are looking to be built, MCAs on top of that to stop it. I mean, so they make their money off of, just find their place in the world by looking to stop projects. And that's just their business model. And it's a good one because they got, millions in the bank. They're the biggest. I think MCA might be one of the biggest law firms in Minnesota. And so
So are these Minnesota natives that are a part of these companies?
No. The NGOs are just anti-mining, or they call themselves environmentalist groups. Now, in the last couple of years, I'd argue, and I don't want to speak for the tribes when I say this, or make it sound like it's, but I would argue that some of the environmentalist groups, once they realized how much powers the tribes have as individual nations and being independent of on being on sovereign lands, I would argue that they're using them to stop projects and do litigation, and then on their end, there's definitely some justification on the tribal side of it. So that it's almost like this perfect storm where, unfortunately, some of these non-ferrous projects are the victim of it a little bit, if you will. But hopefully, it leads to progress where where these projects become in a better spot, and the tribes are better for it too.
So, what would be your take on this? I'm going to go sideways.
Here we go. This is where we get canceled.
So, how do you have the conversation with the people that battle what the mining industry does to say, okay, cool, you're not for what we do, so everything that you have that comes from the earth that we mine, you no longer get. How long do you think that would last?
But
it wouldn't last long. But I think what I've noticed with them is no matter how much, like MCA, for example, it's a great example, is they were looking to stop North Bend. They created a proposal that would basically give another option for NorthMet to turn in basically to this wind and solar farm. And you can go up and tell them and say, okay, well, this project that you're talking about needs 100,000 pounds of copper, let's say, or something, and they don't care. You need this much zinc from coming in from Tennessee, you need this much copper from Arizona, you need all these different things, you need some of the steel that is, being developed through our taconite in Minnesota.
I'm just talking for their personal everyday lives.
Well, no, I don't think I think they understand, but they don't care. They don't understand that it takes oil and gas to make the plastic to hold your Starbucks coffee, or it takes metal to cut the cardboard that you need for things, or, now, the general population, there's these people in the middle that you can get definitely on to your side. But in terms of those actual groups, I don't think they're actually going to really care or be on our side of things until something happens like what you just said. If there's it's a pretty dire one, but let's say if there's a World War III and China cuts us off on everything, and within a few months we're in a tough spot because we can't even literally make our own bullets, or because Perpetua is not, making their antimony. Or let's say, there's rolling blackouts because, China's targeting our natural gas facilities and we have no coal lighting up everything. That's when I think people are going to care.
I think you're also hitting on a good point there when it starts impacting them. Because what they're starting to me, and I'm not picking a fight with anybody, but I do think I'm looking at it through this lens. This is their job. They get paid to do this. They have an emotional outlet to push these things. The people in the middle, they're playing on emotions a little bit and maybe not on facts. Because in my opinion, we can do these things the correct way, the responsible way. But you put in that emotional portion of this, it's hard to argue. It's hard to discuss, debate emotions, right? Because all of us care. If you're in the mining industry, you care about the environment, you care about this. But if I'm getting paid to do this as well, I'm going to fight tooth and nail because I don't want that paycheck to leave. So just like missing out on, all these things that maybe like a World War III would happen, missing out on a paycheck would stop this too.
Well, I think we had a very awesome opportunity that I wonder if you can connect the dots just with human beings being human beings. We had an opportunity to hang out with Dean DeBeltz at his lake house, podcasted on a pontoon from his lake house. Yeah. And once you get to know the people in the industry that are wanting to push these projects forward, their family history is there. They don't want to ruin anything either. You have the best people to represent the safest, cleanest mining operation possible.
Well, and if you look at that project specifically, they've went over and beyond tenfold to make sure that doesn't occur, right?
They didn't need to announce that they're doing dry stacks for their tailings. Right. That increase from, and I'm probably, I don't know as much as you probably on this subject. I'm not an expert on this subject, but my understanding, long story short, with dry stacks is that it's safer environmentally, but it raises your overhead costs significantly. Yeah. And they didn't need to do that. And what you said with Dean too, that's one thing I noticed is I've been, growing better in our backyard with Jacob and going to different states. It's a very common thing where it's rural versus urban areas, where the rural areas understand what, mining projects mean. Gold miners understand Nevada, iron miners understand it in Minnesota, what it does for their local communities. And oftentimes what I've noticed, these NGOs that are looking to stop projects in any state in the country, they're often, located in urban areas. Like, let's say if you're in Arizona looking to stop Resolution Copper, the law firms looking to stop Resolution, or the NGOs are out of Phoenix. And then the people that are opposing those projects, obviously there's some outliers, but especially in Minnesota, what I've noticed is that the people that are opposing it are also from urban areas. And then if there's some locals in those areas, 95% of the time they're retirees that grew up in the urban area and now are just retired.
Yeah,
in that area,
and they don't want to change.
They don't. You don't
think about this next step, though. I guess I would challenge the audience to think about this as well. Is all of the money and resources that are being put into these projects that are taking 20 years to come to either operate or not? There's hundreds of millions of dollars being spent. If we didn't have to spend that to battle to get the permit, how much less expensive would things be?
Sponsoring this episode of the podcast, JSR Fleet Performance, supporting the people who keep mining moving. If you're a part of a training group or managing equipment operator development, you know it's not just about running gear, it's about running it right. JSR Fleet Performance works alongside training teams to extend the life of your fleet, reduce costly breakdowns, and make sure your operators understand how to get the most out of every machine. With customized training support, maintenance insights, and real-world in-field education, JSR helps surface operations boost reliability, safety, and productivity from the pit to the shop. So whether you're building the next generation of mining professionals, looking to audit what you currently have going on, or looking to help develop your workforce, brass in at Mining Minds LLC and bring JSR Fleet Performance into your corner. So I'm going to throw this out at you guys, and I'm going to play devil's advocate now. So give me a positive on the NGOs from your guys' perspective.
I just thought of one, actually. I mean, I think in a weird way, and the only positive that I would see from it is, yes, it increased costs, but like if it leads to better environmental protections, that's a good thing too.
Yeah,
There's a balance to everything, and now I think, to Dino's point, is that now it's gone to like
extreme.
There's no balance. To me, the balance is what you're seeing, in different parts of the world. Australians and Canadians would disagree with me if I said this to them, so I don't even want to say it's Australia and Canada. I'm just going off of a Reuters report or wherever I read it. But, on average, it takes 3 to 5 years to permit a mine in those two countries, and they're mining responsibly. I mean, right now, I think the U.S. has the second longest permitting timeline in the world when it comes to permitting projects on federal lands. And, to me, that balance is 3 to 5 years. And, if you're, as long as, you can permit a project in meeting the environmental and labor protections in place, you should have an opportunity to mine.
Yes.
And I think the biggest issue in this country, too, is that like North Met in Minnesota, for example, was fully permitted at one point. Why was there even an avenue through NEPA for NGOs to still sue the agencies that provide those permits to begin with? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It makes me angry just thinking about it. So that's where I think it's a lot of BS. And, like in Canada, for example, from my understanding with their permitting process, once you get the permits in hand, you have the permits until you go away from that permit in terms of environmental protections.
That is similar in that aspect.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so to me, that's where I was thinking about this. The pendulum did swing too far one way.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see it starting to make its way back. But
who knows? It is with this
true.
Administration. It is with this.
Correct.
But but the problem is with some of these NGOs is that they're so empowered where, like
Correct.
in the previous one, it was just like, they were, it's too bad that it's become, oftentimes I've noticed a partisan issue, and hopefully that's going to change. And, because like in Arizona, for example, they permitted Gunnison's Johnson Camp Mine, HUD-based Copper World, any project that's on state or private land, they're permitting those projects within 5 years.
Yeah.
And there's no...
And everybody else has to hit a moving target. That's
So
that's
like,
the
it's
problem.
like if I were, if I were like looking to start a new mine, the last thing I'm doing is trying to start a mine on federal land.
Yeah, because when you get to the federal land, there's always some indigenous piece there that you always have to go through.
Yes.
I would say the indigenous tribes settled on some really good ground, right? But at the end of the day, we have a checks and balances system, but once that system is completed, the mine has all of their documents. There you go. It's like, oh, you've got this next loophole to drop through, and it's like, it just extends projects. It increases the expenses that these guys are paying.
And that's all I wanted to get at here is that I think those checks and balances have been absolutely looked over, double checked, triple checked. That was a net positive that came out of this. Now let us go to work. Yeah. Now let us do our thing.
and I don't, and then to answer your question, do I think NGOs in this state of it, with exception to a few maybe, do I think they're doing anything positive, especially for like my home state of Minnesota? Absolutely not.
Right.
They're like, anytime there's a big industrial project coming through, they're complaining, they're looking to stop it.
Yep.
And at some point, they're like, certain states are just going to be like, certain companies are going to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to build this in a different state. The only benefit that Minnesota has is that, in terms of like why it's sad to think of it this way, but if any of these mines could magically move their deposit into a different state, they would.
Yeah, 100%.
They would.
Or into a different country.
One of these things that I think these NGOs don't understand either, and like I just don't think they understand basic economics, or they just didn't pay attention in high school, is these companies can make the decision to go build in a different state. Like if I'm like the data centers that I'm talking about that might be built in the Iron Range in just outside of Duluth. If I'm them, I think they're still looking to potentially build there. But if I'm in their shoes, I'm like, screw them. I'm just going to go build in Grand Forks. Or I'm just going to go to Fargo. Like, why do I need to deal with this? Like, why don't I go somewhere where the governor's going to say, yes, please and thank you. Come here and build here.
Yep.
And we want to be an asset to you, not go against you.
What I think the NGOs have done, and you hit on this, was they forced it out of country. Because instead of going to a different state, a lot of these operations you saw start investing their money into different geopolitical...
And just different projects.
But it was out of sight, out of mind. But it wasn't here, and so they felt good about themselves. And if we look at that, I think that's a shame on them type thing, right? Like, we can do it better here than they can do almost anywhere else. I mean,
I would say we do it very confidently here.
Yeah,
and I'll talk to the Iron Range specific on the experience that I had up there. The people that we visited with that have been attached to these projects for 15, 19 years, the NGOs are, and I don't even know why you got to justify it to the government, but at the end of the day, you have the best of the best people in those positions to make those mines successful environmentally, safety, financially. Why wouldn't we do that? Like, it blows my mind, because we got 5 to 7 years, guys like Dean DeBeltz are going to be retiring. And then somebody else can be coming in trying to figure out and rewrite the book on what loophole do we got to jump through next.
Well, and selfishly too, just from on like a personal level, like, you know, like on the emotional side of it, because I think the mining industry needs to get better. I think we just are starting to get better at it, where we've just focused on the logic of it, everything. But like, to your point on Dean too, what's sad about it is that it's at a point where Dean would obviously excel in running Twin Metals, like when it's up and running. Mm-hmm. And there's knock on wood here. Like, I obviously believe in the project. I think I have full confidence it's going to get up and running. But there's also that small chance that he might not ever see it up and running. And he dedicated his career when he could have excelled at that. And it's because some local NGO or politician didn't think that, you know, people at New Range or Twin were deserving of the opportunity to see their dream be fulfilled, even though they had the best intentions for the region and for the state.
Yeah, well, that his house and his sauna, those have been passed down from generation to generation to generation, to where Dean's parents lived there, to where, like, that is legacy. And it just blew my mind when I was up there that the old...
and part of the deposit, the Maturi deposit, is underneath his lake at Birch Lake.
100%.
I mean, that they'd be mining.
And
so
it's
like
encompassed in
So
granite.
literally, if he messes up, his property values, you know, get cut in half, or, you know, like, so it's like even just take away, like, you know, obviously you want to protect the environment, but just like put it at the logical side, pure financial businessman type. It is not a good position. It's not a good business decision for Dean to mess up.
Yeah,
no,
it's not. It's just like
legacy-wise, he wants to pass that house on to his kids too.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to.
And he wants to make sure there's enough opportunities in there to make sure that they're keeping up with property taxes, all that other stuff. Right? You know,
but if you look at another piece, I can't remember what the name of the mine was in Ely, next to the old
Pioneer.
Was it
Pioneer Mine?
Pioneer Mine. That it was a bunch of underground mines, and it actually ended up sinking. And now it's a lake that people they go wakeboarding on, they fish in. It's like, environmentally, mining back in the day hasn't impacted recreation today either.
Or if it has, it's been cleaned up because what's his name? The
Redhead Mountain, bike trail, like IRRB.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the name, but they've made bike trails out of it. They've done things with it in Minnesota specifically in that range that not a lot of the rest of the world is even considering right now. They're putting the forethought into what does this look like after we're done, before they even walk into a project. Like, that's super cool.
And to also add to your question too, like, it made me think of another thing. I do think if there is any, what I've noticed with talking with people, like, actually one of them being my girlfriend, she was not very, I wouldn't say she was anti-industry, but she wasn't pro-industry either. Yeah. And the one thing that always stands out to her, if she does, because she's not that interested in mining, but I mean, she is for me a little bit, but like...
Have you ever taken her on a mine tour?
No, I try to get her to go. I asked her if she wanted to go to Gunnison with me, and she's like, "Oh no, I want to
come out to Nevada. Let's get her underground, and we'll take you and her on."
I actually think she would like it. It's a fine line. I try not to push it too much, and but the one thing though that always that she will like bring up, or a little bit here and there, one thing that stands out to her, and also too, I have some family members that, you know, a couple aunts that might be perceived as a little bit anti-industry. They always talk about, you know, like, if they talk about anything, it's reclamation. Like, how impressed they are with, like, it's like, oh, like, and you can tell, like, the wheels are spinning a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, from a scalability factor, if that's changing their perspective a bit, okay, then I have to focus on reclamation stories if I'm going to get some of those people in the middle on 100%. Our side.
So we were at U.S. Steel, and we were cruising around with Jason. And the way that ore body dips and the way that they're mining it right now, and how they're backfilling and looking at reclamation right now. I was just giving them a hard time. I said, so at what point are you guys starting to build house pads here for future lakefront property? And he goes, you know what? That's actually part of the plan. And I'm like, that is sweet. You know what I mean? To where I don't know if the education, if people don't want to be educated or where we're missing the boat, but these mining companies are planning things like that for future. And I don't know, Minnesota was amazing for me to learn about all this stuff, but to see how different they are in their thought processes.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
absolutely.
Well, I step back because we went down this rabbit hole, which I love these conversations. But so you went on your own, man. You decided, hey, I'm gonna do my own business. What gave you the thought to do that? Like, why?
Well, what it would help too a little bit because I would say it was like a hybrid approach of like kind of taking that leap, but also having some security. So I was fortunate enough where I was still under my dad's health insurance when I was 24, 25. And I had just ran for city council in Duluth. And part of the reason why I did, I was 21 when I did that.
Really? So let's walk through that. Okay. Why? Like what?
Because the local city councilors were against mining. And a couple of them were, and I just got really annoyed with them because when I went to school in Grand Forks, I was 21 when I ran for city council, but I went to UND for a few years. And when I didn't do construction in the summer, I worked at the Coca-Cola bottling plant during the school year to pay for my beer and rent,
give free
cheap
Coke,
rent, so where's I going with this? Oh, they would give us raises every year because they didn't want to lose us to Williston to the oil fields because it was just at the tail end of the oil boom. So that was kind of when I got my real personal lesson on economics. It wasn't just something you're reading in the book where it's like, oh wow, like there's a big, demand for labor and the type of work that I'm doing. Like your wages will go up, and even though Williston is 5 hours west of Grand Forks. And so when I went to Duluth, it was a big eye-opener for me because I'm like thinking, and I would say actually, politically, personally leaned a little liberal still when I moved over there, kind of in the middle. And I just was like, I was just amazed. It was like, I went from making like $13-14 an hour as a 21-year-old. And then when you move to Duluth and their economy is kind of like stagnant. And to make anything more than $10 an hour, you had to like know someone or have a special connection. I didn't know anyone in Duluth. I just loved the city. And
hard to pay your bills on $10 an hour.
Exactly, yeah. And so then luckily I got a job bar backing, and then I didn't get enough work there, so I interviewed for a warehouse job for a company called Parsons Electric. And then, long story short, after my interview, I thought I bombed it because my boss asked, okay, hey, when you're finished with school, because I was going to transfer to Duluth, we'd really like to see you take over the warehouse. And I said, well, I'm going to school with all due respect to get your job, to do something.
Yeah.
Good on you. He's like, I like this cocky guy.
And I walked out thinking, I'm like, I failed. I'm moving back to Grand Forks. This town sucks. Like, it's beautiful, but it sucks. And he called me and asked me if I wanted to come in an intern to learn how to project manage. And then within a few weeks, he made me full time. And then that's when I started learning more about the mining industry. Because for a while there, I think it was, just like entrepreneurialism, you try different things, and I think they're just trying me to see if I would make for a good PM in the industrial space, because the PM at that time, wasn't in retirement age yet, but 5-6 years is probably going to be thinking about it. And so, he was taking me to the different taconite mines, and I started learning about that. And then,
what was your first experience or first thought when you went onto a mine site?
Not much actually, because unfortunately I didn't really see the actual operations, but I understood right away, crystal clear, like, okay, this is Duluth, Williston. Like, this is, without U.S. Steel and without, Cliffs and without taconite mining, Duluth would be suffering hard. And I'm like, why are local city councilors and the mayor not going out of their way to support this industry that's literally under attack? And then I started learning more about Polymet and visited North Bend, visited their office, and they were, the guys were sitting in there, and I went in there with the industrial PM at the time. His name is George Shevich, and he was updating his pricing to them, and material pricing and everything. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, and I just was looking at the jobs, the economic impact. I'm like, why is this not happening? And then personally, as I was mentioning earlier, my dad's like a union Teamster guy, and my grandpa was a lifelong union iron worker, and he was the superintendent that built all the crystal sugar facilities in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So he's kind of I
Big
didn't
deal.
realize how much of a badass he was
Yeah.
until I actually got more into construction. I'm like, oh, he's the superintendent that tells the PM to go F off on my job site because you're in my way. Like,
Yeah.
you're just slowing us
I'm trying
down.
to
Like,
work.
I'm trying to get my boy, to get this all done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, this is interesting. And so then it started kind of lit up personal thing,
Passion.
because I got really passionate about the trades. I was thinking associations at the time, other ones weren't doing enough with the trade. So I was working, so I ran for city council because it was more of a passion thing. And then after I lost, because I was probably running the most liberal city council district in the U.S. And I didn't even know I was really that conservative at the time. I just knew that I was like, I'm more libertarian than anything. And I don't think I've ever
But you're
talked
20.
to.
You're 21.
Yeah,
and
21.
you did
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And so like so I just kind of, and then after that, I realized I wanted a different career path. And then a local entrepreneur in the area that owns Lakehead Constructors, his name is Brian Mackey. He was a mentor of mine for a while. Lakehead is kind of like the local contractor that, if you're Cleveland Cliffs or U.S. Steel, you call them first for an estimate, to come on site and do improvements for a shutdown or anything. And if there's a new mine being built, Lakehead's right there. And then he, I started getting to know him more, and he was mentioning that there's this group called Better in Our Backyard that they're creating, and then another mentor of mine, her name's Lisa Bodine, she runs a company called Giant, was saying that, we might have something for you if you want to do a different career path. We have this, it's not very much money, and I kind of initially said no because, I was getting enough to be comfortable. Like,
100%.
from
Yeah,
part,
good.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a huge pay cut and not have any benefits,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
but
I just left that.
yeah, and so so then I went down to Tulsa to go help manage a data center. I was 24 now. And so I take that back. I was 23 when I ran for city council, 24 when I went down to Tulsa. And after they gave me like $900 to $1,000 a week in per diem, a 25% pay increase bonus every month, and all the money. I mean, I was basically 24, 25 making 130, 140K a year.
Crushing it.
Like when you add in the per diem not being taxed and all that stuff, and you were to just put it up against someone that's actually getting taxed fully.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and I still wasn't happy. I was like putting away a good 40, 50% of my paycheck away every time I got paid. And I was miserable.
Really?
And I did not fit on the team. I wasn't as interested. I was constantly thinking about Polymet. I was constantly thinking about Better in Our Backyard and did I make the right decision? And then they finally posted online that there's a job position. And I applied right away. They said I was one of 2 applicants. It was called for an outreach coordinator position, and I flew from Tulsa to Minnesota to interview for it. And I just was kind of, I don't want to say desperate. I just knew I needed to make a change, and this was it. I just had a gut feeling.
You had a passion for it.
Well, you also had enough money in your bank account to
a
help,
little bit.
to
Well,
help
and
pad
then
yourself.
the real security though was still being under my dad's health insurance. So I knew, I just had this gut feeling if I stay another year at Parsons, I'll be there for 30 more years, or at a company similar to it. And because I didn't want to give up the benefits. So they wanted it to be a part-time position initially. No offense to the board when I came in and hired me. There was really no direction for it. The industry, Polymet knew that they just wanted to create, or not Polymet, but local contractors and industry people in the area just knew they needed to create an answer to another NGO called Duluth for Clean Water. And so they wanted someone part-time that was already working for a contractor like Parsons. And I was looking at their goals, and I'm like, okay, well, you're going to need someone full-time to make this happen. And they didn't even have enough money to offer me a full-year contract, barely enough for 6 months. And it was still not very much when you pay your own benefit. If you're to pay your own benefits, pay taxes. And I mean, it was $15, $20 an hour type job. And so I talked to him. I just said, hey, if you're going to do this, I don't know if you want me or not, but you're going to have to hire someone full-time. You can't have someone half-assing this and then you're just going to, you might be saving money initially, but over time, it's just not going to be productive.
Do you want it to grow or do you want it to stay?
I would say it probably would grow, but it would be successful. I mean, you got to be consistent. You got to have the voice. There's a lot that goes into it, and like you said, you can't half-ass it.
No.
But good direction from you at 24, 25 years old at this point to be able to have that discussion with these folks.
I just turned 25, I think, and then I just was like, there's no. And then
were they receptive to that?
I think they were, because afterwards they offered me that contract, and then I was going to say, I haven't thought about this in a while because it feels so long ago. But it was just 7. I mean, because I just said and so they offered me the contract. I took it, and then I moved back up to Duluth because I was in Tulsa for only like 6 months. And then the first year at Better in Our Backyard, we had a different logo. I can send you guys it. I wish I had it on me. It was Minnesota-centric, and we were supposed to be focused on young professionals, do events at colleges. And we had some success doing that first year, but I just had this gut feeling like it's not sustainable, and we were kind of supposed to be kind of complementary to some of the other associations in the area that you got to know during your trip.
Where am I making this impact?
Yeah, like kind of like be their little brother or little sister. And the competitor in me, I'm just like, I cannot stand that. And so when COVID hit, I was also feeling at that time starting to catch on where I'm like, oh, this is coming pretty natural to me. Like, and I'm thinking different a little bit, not too much, but I was just like kind of like, wheels spinning here a little bit.
Everything was working, yeah.
And, or starting to. I was starting to kind of feeling like I was about to hit my stride. And because Twin Metal, so our founding members is Polymet and Lakehead, and then slowly Enbridge and then Twin Metals that year joined. So like after my first year, we had 4 main companies that were kind of doing seed funding. And, when COVID hit, I was just kind of starting to realize that I think some of these other associations, throughout the country, doing great work, but they're kind of doing the same thing. And so I'm just like, okay, how can I be different? And so when COVID hit, I thought our funding was going to be pulled anyway. Because if I'm them, I'm taking our funding away from Better in Our Backyard before any other NGO that I'm helping support us for advocacy or for lobbying or for anything else. And so I just took it. I just started throwing darts at the wall, like trying different things, trying different graphic designs, like how you guys are teaching yourself how to podcast, or I'm sure you guys did, I was teaching myself how to do video edits and graphic design, and I was cold calling all legislators in Minnesota, like county commissioners, because all of a sudden now with COVID, lobbyists can't meet with them. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna lobby and advocate digitally with them.
Yeah. So I think that's important for the audience. Maybe walk through what exactly Better in Your Backyard does.
We promote responsible industrial development. So whether you're looking to build a new mine or a new pipeline or, a data center, say, if as long as you fit within our mission and we think it's a good project for your region or for your community, we'll bring you in. And
you advocate for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And so after we got through COVID,
and you're trying all this stuff.
Yeah. Like we were just starting to hit our stride, but we were kind of coming out of nowhere. So I think a lot of people were wondering, okay, is this sustainable? Like Ryan's just one guy.
Yeah.
And
is he just looking for a big money grab and bouncing, or what?
Yeah. Or is just like, can Ryan keep this up? Can keep this pace up? And so then nobody ever told me that, but that was just my gut feeling again, like just kind of instinct.
That's probably the internal drive though for you too.
Yeah. And it was like, how do I, prove them wrong in a healthy way? And so I just kept, being consistent. And then, so my first couple of years, like in COVID, I was around that 3 to 5 member mark for a while. And then we jumped up to 50 members, I think in 2021.
What do you attribute
coming
that
out
to?
of COVID? So our social media, so the benefit that I had too in building our membership was when I was at Parsons Electric, I would just see how much that they would do to entertain potential mines and potential clients and how much they would spend. And so it's like, okay, all these other vendors and contractors are doing this. So like during COVID, it was like, okay, how do I, like I sent you that graphic, like, hey, do you want to be featured with us? That was birthed with me doing that to member companies where I'm like, hey, Dino, do you want to put your graphic on for Twin Metals? And I know that you're going to be submitting an engineering or some type of proposal to them, or you're trying to get some kind of work from them. Well, then a month from now, I'm going to turn around and say, hey, like, by the way, do you want to join us for $1,000? Well, it's hard for you to say no when I'm like showing value first. Sure. And in like not every company would do that. They kind of wanted that prestige, but didn't want to, pay up, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are running into that. And
building.
It's, but like I would say it went from like having a 5% success. Like I didn't really, what I did my first couple of years is I didn't focus on fundraising. I focused on how do I build a brand that is creating value.
Yes.
And then I'll come and ask them to join. And so when I was asking companies for the join, it was like $500. And so we made this jump to 50 members. And then there was a 2-year period there where it was kind of stagnant, but our events were really picking up. Like my first winter dinner that we did in Duluth had 86 people and they attended for free. It was a direct cost on our already low budget. I mean, we weren't even surpassing 80K a year in revenues. And, to now, I'm annoyed that we haven't hit 500 people yet for my dinner. But
Sure.
It's also an opportunity to bring everybody together for a singular message.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not always a sale. You've already proven the value. And I think that's one of the hardest things is that I've experienced so far, being an advocate or being in the industry in a niche market, because everybody's focused on the production and the ounces and everything that it takes, or the permitting, to where sometimes I think groups like ours might be overlooked a little bit because it's looks like we're just having fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
but it's like you're delivering value, like, and it's.
Yeah.
And it's such a good opportunity for guys like us too, because the mining industry never put much value in this space. So it's frustrating initially, but over time it's.
Well, you see these mining companies trying to do some of this stuff, but they've got the corporate walls up to where you can only work within these boundaries to where we get to be creative.
Yep.
Right.
There's less red flags or red tape.
Yeah, and we get to be we have an opportunity to bring the right truth through the people that are working and running the industry. And actually have a voice, even from your perspective at your dinner. It's just an awesome time to be able to bring everybody together to
Network.
show the fight, or not the fight, but the advocacy that we're all there to do to keep us being able to hand down the mining industry over generations.
The one thing I wanted to note too is good on your board for taking what you said seriously and investing in that, which you're the person, but investing in that long-term risk, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Because they very, very well could have not done that, and then where would you guys be today? So I think there's other things. They saw something in you, whether it was trust, passion, your drive. They saw something in you that was different, and I think that's what people need to realize out there too, is if you got lightning in a bottle, man, feed that thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point. I mean, when I probably shouldn't have worded that way before. Like, the board didn't know necessarily where to take it. They had an idea, but I've just always been very fortunate that they've always been very supportive.
Yeah.
Like, they've never. I haven't had too much guardrails, and that's also too like another advantage that I had too, was I didn't have this corporate.
Yeah, but let's be honest, that's what the industry needs right now.
Yes.
We need some, I don't want to say younger blood, we just need somebody that doesn't have the institutionalized blocks up
Yep.
to where you can be creative and go, hey, this will work.
Yep.
I think it's really a sign, or if anybody wants to look at success when you take down those guardrails or loosen that noose up a little bit, that's what Better in Our Backyards looks like when you allow that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And and that's partly too, one of the things I enjoy too, and that you remind me of something when you said bringing people together at the dinner. One of the things that I love is, with our dinner, we're going to have probably 500 people by the time January hits. The biggest thing that I take pride in is that, or not the biggest, but one of them is 70 or 80 of people that are going to be there have been featured on Better in Our Backyard at one point or another. So it's like they kind of feel like they're a part of it.
Yep.
100%. And it's like, and there's some people too that, their company won't join. And because I want to mention this earlier, because when I said the pricing, I don't want to make it sound like I'm all about money or funds or.
No, but it takes a business. It takes money to operate a business.
Yeah. But there are companies that they don't want to join us. They don't, but they got some guy. They got an engineer that works for them or a banker that works for them. They absolutely love it, and they're asking, okay, like how do I join, and like I can pay, and it's like, no, just come in. I mean, if you want to, if you're a company, that's not your issue.
You're wanting to give that guy value.
Because you said, like, you're bringing people together. Like, if you care enough to even send me an email asking them to come, just ignore the ticket. We'll register you. And
you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, man, yes, I need money.
Like, you want to come to the dinner to be a part of it, and like it's like, okay, I don't want to. Yeah, it's like it's a hell of a compliment to like that. There's even an interest in coming. And
well, that's the hardest part from my perspective, sounding from you or for us in general, is the financial end of it.
Yes.
It's like, we want everything that you have to offer. We'll talk about our podcast specific, because we want to come on and talk about our business, but we don't want to sponsor the show. And it's like,
it's annoying. It's kind of
cool, because we just met a super cool person. Thank you for coming on. And that's how we look at it. Like, whatever. It's all good.
Well, and then another thing that bothers me too about it is a lot of those people that don't want to pay up on, say, a sponsorship of your podcast, they're probably turning around too, complaining about the exact NGOs that we were talking about earlier, looking to stop their project. And it's like, okay, well, what do you want? Like, how do you?
And then I think with you, what I'm getting is like us. You're intense there. Our intent is to promote the people, better the people and the companies, communities in this industry. And if you stay there, man, things will happen when they're supposed to happen. That's kind of our thought process.
Yeah, I've noticed it. Yeah, I mean,
we'll just keep on keeping on, man. That's what you get.
Like
That's what you get.
Well, like when I was building Better and Backyard in COVID, I was building a relationship with Perpetua and Stibnite because I noticed their marketing stuff was very similar. And it was 3 years before they actually became a part of us. But it was just, I stayed the course, always was consistent in talking with them, and then McKinsey pulled the trigger on us, and then it just had this ripple effect everywhere else. So it's almost, those first couple of years are crucial.
Sponsoring this episode of the podcast, our good friend Jimmy Ewing and Motor Mission Machine and Radiator. When your machine overheats, there's no downtime to waste, especially in mining. That's why Mining Minds recommends Motor Mission Machine and Radiator, your go-to experts in industrial and heavy equipment radiator repair, engine and cylinder head rebuilding, and precision machine shop work. Founded in 1949 and serving the Western United States for over 50 years, Motor Mission handles it all. Radiators and coolers from passenger vehicles to massive mining shovels and full machine shop services like honing, line boring, and crankshaft balancing. They'll pick it up, tear it down, clean it right, and test it on custom stands before it leaves their shop. The bottom line is, when you're talking best in class, that's Motor Mission Machine and Radiator. Big or small, they can do them all.
One thing that we were fortunate to be a part of this week was the Mining Marketing Summit, and it was on Monday. It was the first annual, so we'll have to get you linked up to get the information for that next year.
Oh, yeah.
But it
I didn't even know
really
it existed.
talking about how we are marketing the mining industry and what that looks like. So there was a lot of consultants in there. And at the end of the day, I think the message that I took away, or that I wanted to take away, is the mining industry has resources that don't have the corporate roadblocks up. We have creativity, we have the storyline, we've got the advocate groups that we can pull all together to get the singular message to the U.S. market that this is what mining looks like nowadays, and repaint the face of the future miner or the present day miner. But I think what we see is all these mining companies they're doing 50 to 65% because they want their own marketing person, so they can control the narrative.
Well, what they want to do is hire somebody part-time. That's kind of the mentality of it, right? Is
they don't want to spend the money somewhere else, but they're going to spend double hiring their own.
Or rehiring people, or
getting
well, and to me,
half
if I
the
were,
quality.
I mean, without looking at budgets, if I were a company, I mean, obviously you want your own marketing person, right? But you still need a third-class party like a Mining Minds or a Better in Our Backyard, or an AEMA, because it just looks to I think the point is it just looks and feels better and different if it's coming from a third party instead of the actual company. Of course, the company itself is going to talk about how great they are.
Sure.
But when it's coming from a different brand, even if people can kind of see through it a little bit and say, oh yeah, well, they're obviously funding them a bit, it's still a heck of a lot better to go through a third party where it's in a setting like this podcast, where there's not as much corporate guardrails and you're talking through things.
Yeah.
And
we get to talk about real things. And one of the things we talked about too was all these companies are shooting the elephant in a different spot. Everybody thinks that whether it's marketing or telling our story as an industry, they're making an impact, but they're shooting a BB gun at an elephant. You consolidate that message through people like us and the consultants. Let us help you build your marketing programs, but it's funneled up to whether it's a national mining association group, and we have that singular message to take to the government. We have a standardized, not just message, but request, whether it's permitting or finances for the mining industry in the States. It gives us one opportunity or one avenue to have those conversations, because people like us have started to help build the industry, and we're not just focused on ourselves. We're utilizing our network to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
absolutely.
How long have you been with Better in Our Backyards now?
I would say 7 years, and then the last couple of years we've actually been national since we brought up resolution. So I'd say 7 years, and I'd say the last 3 to 4 years is, I'd say 4 years ago, Better in Our Backyard started getting more known outside of Minnesota, and then the last two now it's pretty.
Very cool.
What drove you to start expanding the business outside of Minnesota?
Well, like when we were going to COVID, it's a great question. I like to have the ability to pivot, and what I loved about the Better in Backyard name is that it's not specific to a state or a region. And so I looked at that as an advantage in comparison to, like, when I'm saying this, I want the other pro-mining NGOs to be a success, by the way. Like, I want them to do well. But, like, I looked at it as, okay, this is my competitive advantage where if I need a pivot, we can do that. And so, you know, it's kind of funny, like, you know, as you grow up or you get more mature, like, I used to think this was a hindrance. So, like, I was, like, kind of, like, you know, victimhood, like, oh, like, I don't have as many members as other people around me, you know, in this region, or, like, I don't have as much funding to work with. Well, it's funny, like, when you don't have much to work with, it makes you actually think outside the box. It gives you an opportunity to innovate and to do different things. And so after a few years of me trying to prove myself within the region and still realizing that I'm still kind of looked at as the backup quarterback, if you will, from a funding perspective, I'm just like, screw this. Like, I am not thinking big enough here. Like, and so when Enbridge was with us, they needed us for a pipeline project called the Line 3 Replacement Project in northern Minnesota. When that completed, Line 5 was just starting to get in the news with Gretchen Whitmer, Governor Whitmer, trying to shut it down in Michigan, and then Justin Trudeau was trying to keep it going, he was successful in doing it, keeping it going, because it was a national treaty thing, because a lot of the oil that comes from Line 5, it starts in Superior, Wisconsin, ends up in Ontario, Canada. So it's a huge, Line 5 is an extremely underrated trade topic in between Canada and the U.S. It feeds 10 refineries, 5 in Canada and 5 in the U.S. Oh. And, well, when they needed help with Line 5, I got someone on Fiverr or Upwork to get me a new logo. And, you know, like, my board, I think, was semi-aware, but I was just like, if Enbridge leaves, I got to go back to project management. So, like, I said, hey, if you guys stick with us and go to Line 5, we'll switch our logo to this. And they're like, we like it.
Yeah, and well, you just went agnostic. Now you're not set to the state.
And then my thought process was, okay, if Enbridge says yes, then all of a sudden now, literally, I have a pipeline to get Perpetua, because Perpetua and I had already been talking for 2 years. But if I were in their shoes, I wouldn't want to invest in us because we had a Minnesota-centric logo.
Sure.
So when all that happened, then Perpetua came with us. And then so, like, all of a sudden now, it's like my thought process to answer your question was, instead of me trying to compete for dollars with other great mining groups in my region,
you found other lakes, bro.
Like let's find other different streams of revenue so that they can still be doing their thing, and I don't have any kind of resentment. I can be unleashed, if you will.
In.
Like, I'm not boxed in.
Because
like,
you have other groups doing the same thing, and it doesn't matter who you are. There's always natural competition. At the end of the day, you thought outside the box and went, I'm going fishing at another hole. Yeah, you guys fish here, catch all the fish you want.
I'll still fish here every now and then, but I don't have to make it my focus.
Yeah, I'll snag a walleye or two, but I'm going to go over here and get some bass right now.
Yeah.
And now
that's a great way of putting it.
You're fishing all over the country, bro.
And it feels similar to what we talked about initially when I was saying about the corporate world, where, you know, it felt like I felt weird, you know, arguing over 7 or 10% raise. That's what it felt like when we were building our prestige in the region. And so I was just like, you know, we can still have this prestige. We can still have our events be Minnesota-centric and still go national. And I wanted to go national, too. I just felt like we could be different. And, you know, when I saw that Resolution Copper's talking points in Arizona, like, so in Minnesota, you know, like, there's New Range Copper, Nickel, and Twin Metals. They've been getting their butt kicked by the previous administration, very similar to Pebble Mine. So in the previous administration, they, for whatever reason, they did some great things with some critical mineral projects on the DoD side. You know, like helping projects like Talon in Minnesota, Perpetua. I mean, Perpetua got technically fully permitted under Biden. But for whatever reason, they had a huge angst against copper projects, whether it was Pebble in Alaska, whether it was Twin in Minnesota, Resolution Copper in Arizona. So when we were first going national, my thought process was, okay, well, we have Talon Metals as a member with Better in Backyard. We have Perpetua as a member. So we have projects that we can talk positively about with this administration, but we also have projects that we can stand up for against this administration, where that shows that we're, you know, we're not, and we're continue not to be. We're not a partisan group. We're just objectively, we support responsible industry. So then my thought process was, okay, well, we got some projects backed by DoD. Let's get in Resolution Copper, because their talking points are the same as what Twin is going through, like, and as what New Range is going through, and then Resolution like that. And then, you know, and then once we got Resolution, it just kind of had this snowball effect, especially in the last, I mean, we've grown more in the last 18 months than I did in the previous 4 years.
But good on you, man, for connecting the dots, going agnostic, getting, redoing the logo. And it's crazy that it takes just that for somebody to believe that you can be outside of your home
Well,
state.
you're aligning people from all over, not just in one location.
Well, and it makes sense from a perception standpoint, because like, what if I go to, like, imagine me going into a boardroom with Resolution Copper or their public affairs guy and say, hey, we're going to do this, and then, we're going to have our Minnesota-centric logo on message. I wouldn't buy into it either.
Sure.
I'm like, hey, I'd be like, yeah, you're doing great work. You're doing great work in Minnesota. But so once that's switched up to your point, it is amazing, but it makes sense too. Like, I mean, like Mining Minds doesn't have a Nevada logo, even though you guys are based out of there, right? So like, it's, so like you can move your platform anywhere.
So do you work with any of the groups locally or like regionally as well? Like NVMA is a good example, right?
I used to a little bit in Minnesota, not so much anymore.
Okay.
But I do work quite a bit with Deantha, the Alaska Miners Association. If you haven't had her yet, she'd be a great person to have on. Ben Davenport at the Idaho Mining Association is excellent. And then Steve Trussell at the Arizona Mining Association is awesome to work with. Those are kind of like the main guys I work with, and other, advocates like, outside of the groups, like Aaron Witt is always good to talk to, as you guys know. What was the other part of your question?
I was just curious if you're working with these other groups, because again,
we're friendly with them, but not as much as people might think. They come to our events.
Do they utilize your services like National Mining Association? Or obviously everybody's watching, right?
Yep.
I mean, you've got a great following. Are they just lookers, or do they go, hey, we want you as a resource because you're a professional in the field?
That's good. I don't think they've utilized us directly, but they'll work well with us. Like Ashley Burke at National Mining Association, spoke at my expo in October.
Okay.
She flew out and did it, and did an excellent job. And now she's helping me with potentially another speaker.
Very cool.
And she doesn't have to do that. I mean, like, because the person that I'm asking her to help me with, like, it's going to take a lot of connections and avenues where, if she were to charge me a fee, it'd probably be a steep one. So, so we work together in that way. And then like, obviously Mark Compton and Kenna at AEMA, we work well with them. And, they came to our event last year. We had the, I Am Mining backdrop present at our dinner last year. But like, in terms of using us or our services directly, not so much, but I just try to make sure that we have good relationships with them, because...
But you're focused more on the mining companies anyway, right? So you can help really talk
like
about
a lot
the
of
mineral and the project specific.
I like to be specific on the projects, and then my favorite part of it too is connecting the dots in between all the other projects. Like, for example, a few weeks ago, we did a graphic where it was like 10 mining projects in the U.S. that are targeting 3 or more critical minerals.
Yeah.
And we did that. So we featured a couple. There were a couple from Alaska on that graphic. There was Guardian Metals in Nevada on that. Resolution Copper technically was on that list, and that was a good way for us to put together a post that tagged 10 different companies, and 2 of them aren't members, and like, that's a good excuse for me to come back to them in 2026 saying, hey, well, we did a couple of these posts with you guys want to join?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that was what I was getting at, is like, and I know we've had similar instances where it's like, we're not trying to compete. We're actually, how do we help? How do we all work this together?
Yes.
There's enough going on. To your singular message, man, that makes sense to me when we can partner up. Even though we might be doing something similar, it makes more sense to partner up and go at this together. So I guess some of those organizations I would hope that you're working with because of that reason, man.
Messages are stronger
together
in the network, right?
Yeah.
It's because you're all like-minded people. And I think if you can get people to drop the ego, there's enough to go around for everybody.
That's a continuous battle for me every day, by the way, personally. So, but it's like, it's something you gotta like humble yourself up a bit. I have to check myself constantly.
Well, it's natural for people to want to protect theirs.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if there's no threat and there's help, it's like, man, we've got extensions all over the U.S. Potential could go global, and then your singular message becomes stronger. Right. And it's like, for me, it makes sense. I sit up at night thinking about stuff like this. But
Well, so I want to know, what is, you said the last 2 years have been, 18 months have been on fire for you. What does the next 2 years or 18 months look like for you?
I think looking really good. I mean, just trying to capitalize on that growth. Gosh, I feel like I'm talking way too much politics, but especially with this administration stance on mining.
Unfortunately, that's where we're at in mining.
Yeah, like, it's just, especially with this administration stance in mining, now is the time to strike, and especially over the next few years. But then also too, with us, when we talk about pivoting, technically we could do stuff for data centers. I mean, I think some people forget that we do stuff for oil and gas with Enbridge and pipelines. So, I mean, we've been getting some interest from data centers the last couple of months from different companies. A project in Georgia expressed some interest without me even reaching out to them. A couple in Wisconsin, and then, but yeah, I would say from a mining perspective, it's just continuous growth. I mean, we're in 11 states now with 20 some different projects, and yeah, I mean, and
how about any of these factories that are coming back to the United States? Do you guys
I see happening? It's more just I could see that.
I want to ask a question because I think this is where we're headed in the future. Right now, we can mine and we can produce all these minerals in a rough state, but refining
that's
the minerals that we need.
I was going to get to that too.
It's going to be a bottleneck. That could be the next step. Like, hey,
I want it to be, because when you look at it from a strategy perspective, like, it's just, I think that I don't want to say one's more or less important, but from like a national security strategic perspective, there is an argument to be made that it's better to control the refining and processing than it is the actual mining.
Yeah. And so what happens when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I've got this nuclear power plant project.
I want it. Yeah.
But that's the future of it all.
And then we're like, and this is where I like connecting the dots. It's like I'm trying to get a couple of uranium companies with us. Where I like connecting the dots is that if we start doing stuff for a nuclear power plant, there are going to be avenues for messaging that we can connect it back to the uranium projects or operations that we're supporting.
At what point does Better in Your Backyard take all of the information for all of the homework that you're doing for the industry and stand in front of Congress and be that singular voice?
We got to be asked. I mean, we want, okay. I mean, obviously we're open to it. We have, we have a great relationship with Congressman Stopper's office, and we just have yet to have that opportunity. But we've been obviously, we like this year, especially the two calls that I've been getting the most are, ironically, investors from Toronto. Not investing in Better in Our Backyard, but just saying, hey, we got a great project in the U.S. that could use your help for advocacy, and lobbyists from D.C. And so I could see that happening, but like I said earlier, I think in many ways we're kind of still looked at as the backup QB, if you will, when it comes to that type of stuff. But obviously, we would jump right on it.
I think you're absolutely making waves and progressing at a rapid pace. So I think that's cool to watch, man, from outside perspective. Yeah. Going, there's a group out there that are pushing to do the right things. I do got to ask, what projects are you most excited about, if you had maybe a top one or two that? Well,
just because I'm a Minnesota guy, I mean, obviously Twin Metals. I think just seeing New Range. Resolution Copper out of Arizona. I mean, that's going to be massive. And then just seeing what Stibnite is doing with restoration and their plan with Idaho, like talking about reclamation, making the environment better, but making, the antimony that we need to, make bullets. I mean, that's simple. I'm excited about a lot of different things. On a personal level, like if, to see if I were to wake up one morning to see Twin Metals up and running would be just awesome. Yeah. And then, and then or New Range, obviously, and but it's hard to pick. I mean, I mean, all these projects are exciting.
Have you ever been underground at Resolution?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Have you?
I haven't yet.
Oh, that'd be a hell of a place to do a podcast.
So we've got some plans. We'll talk about that after we get done here, but something that we've got brewing on the backside with a couple other people that have a voice like we do. So we definitely want to talk about that before you leave. Yeah. So the reason I asked that is, in my opinion, and being a miner, that's your street cred, right?
Yep.
So where the reason I asked is I want people to know that you're not just sitting in Duluth. You're visiting these projects. You're going underground at Resolution.
Oh, yeah, yep.
To where that's your street cred. Your boots on the ground too. So
trying to be. I mean, I just
that's important for the people that are making decisions to bring you onto their team or help you or have you advocate for them. You're in the field. You're in it to win it, just like they are, just a little bit different lens.
Well, and add to your point too, that's one thing though I admire about both of you is that you guys are actually mining. I technically can't say I've ever mined. So I mean, it's pretty
long nights in a haul truck, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you're a miner now though. I mean, you're doing just as much for the mining industry, and I think that's something, to Dino's point, that needs to be recognized, man. Is that it's guys like you and your groups that are pushing to help those people continue to have a job in the haul truck or in a shovel.
I will say that's part of the singular message. everybody here might have a different title for their organization. We're miners.
Yeah.
And I think we take that to the government level. We're miners. It doesn't matter my title. I'm a miner. I could be a haul truck driver. I could be a CEO. You don't have to know. I'm a miner, and this is what we need. That's it.
I agree. I got to ask, you mentioned girlfriend.
Yeah, I was going to get there too.
Okay. Well, maybe you.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned girlfriend. Any future plans? Anything we can talk about on the podcast?
If he backs away from work for me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, like I knew she was a catch on our first date, and yeah, hopefully she continues to believe that with me until I die. So, that's kind of my thought process with her. She's definitely end game as long as she'll have me. So,
So did you propose already?
Not yet.
Oh,
technically.
so you want to propose on the podcast?
She gives me. No, she.
That could be pretty creative.
I get plenty of crap for that already, so I gotta.
You can propose right here on the
podcast. We're at 18 months, so.
Ask her right now on the podcast, and then have her listen to it, and just be kneeling down when she listens to it.
That's right.
That would be creative.
We had our first Mining Minds baby, dude. Why couldn't we facilitate an engagement right here?
That's right. No, I was just curious, man, and I'm sorry to press you on that.
No
you
worries.
just mentioned that earlier, so I didn't know if you wanted kids. And the reason I'm asking is because back to the miner thing, you're first generation miner. Is it something that you would pass down to your kids to go, hey, get into this industry?
Oh, yeah. Definitely would love to have kids someday. And then, if they took a natural interest in that stuff, that definitely would be something I'd like to see.
I think you're paving the way, man, for your kids to have a lot of good options. And I'm sure just like every other parent, if you decide to have kids, you want them to do what they want to do.
That's kind of where I'm going. Yeah, that's why I didn't
jump on that.
But it's but hopefully it's like a natural, what are you doing today?
You want your job to be cool enough and like it enough to where it just resonates with them to go, I want to do what my dad does.
Well, and the reason I ask is because I'm going, maybe we're sitting here for the first time realizing a first-generation miner is going to have a 10th-generation miner and doesn't even know it. So that's kind of what I was joking about or getting at. So, Dean, I think we're getting ready to wrap it up. You got anything else, man?
No, I want to say thank you for coming on, man. I know that you'll probably be busy for the rest of the day, but for you to take the time to come in and sit down with us, allow us to be coming up to your show.
Oh yeah, no.
We'll be in connection, I'm sure, over the next few weeks to get it set up. But just want to say thank you for taking the time.
Oh yeah, appreciate you inviting me, and this is a hell of an opportunity, and just been admiring your work from afar for a while now. So
thanks, man.
We got to get you out to Nevada, man.
Yeah.
We want you to see the studio, but we'd like to get you a couple tours underground.
Would love to
in the pits, just to give you an idea of what we deal with out where we're from.
Anytime. I have yet to tour a gold mine, so
let's do it.
Yeah.
So the one thing I want to echo what Dino says. Thanks, man. I appreciate you sitting down, taking your time. You've got things going on, so appreciate that for sure. How do people get a hold of you if they're interested in Better in Our Backyards? What do they do?
Oh, you can visit our website www.betterinourbackyard.com, or most of our stuff is on social media. So our biggest followings are on Facebook and LinkedIn. We post on Instagram, and then we do some stuff on TikTok here and there. But where I would say we get the most attention is definitely LinkedIn and Facebook. We have like 30-some thousand followers between the two, and definitely not getting to Aaron Witt's level yet, but we're, but that's how people can.
Very cool. Well, we'll post all the stuff too, man, but thank you again for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Check us out, miningmindsllc.com, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram. Adios.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast, guys. Another great episode, a cool opportunity to meet Ryan, get to know him. But before we get into the recap, I want to give a big thank you to the American Exploration and Mining Association for having us here, having us a part of this event, setting us up kind of center stage in the middle of all the vendors. It's been really cool to be up here. So thank you to those guys again. And if you guys don't know about their event, haven't checked out their event, it's their annual meeting in Reno. You can hit them up on the website at miningamerica.org. All right, let's jump into this recap with Ryan and Better in Our Backyards. The one takeaway that I had right out of the gate during our podcast is his entrepreneurial mentality that he brought with him as he walked into, Better in Our Backyards. I think that's an important thing. If we all talk about acting like an owner, but Ryan kind of walked through a couple things in the podcast where he discussed thinking outside the box. If you don't have the resources to do it, or if you're seeing something done the same way over and over, in order to be effective, in order to add value, you have to look at that differently. I think you can see the success that Ryan has had and Better in Our Backyards has had because of that mentality, that entrepreneurial type of mentality. And I get it. Not everybody out there is an entrepreneur. Somebody likes to get in the back of that haul truck and that's where they want to be. I'm not hating or taking away from that because everybody has their own style. But I think if you're going to be a part of these associations, a part of these groups, I do think it takes somewhat of an entrepreneurial type mentality. So I thought that was a really cool topic or point that we got to discuss on the podcast. The next one's a bigger topic and one I could probably talk about for hours, but is the impact that NGOs have on our industry. And you guys stay tuned because we got another podcast coming up that will dive into more of this. But as we talk about these topics over and over, and I think culturally, as we see some of these things playing out in our political environment, and this is just my opinion, I think all NGOs probably start out with a great intent. And like many things in this world, the more and more they start to lean one way or the other can have a negative impact. And again, we dove into it on the episode for the advocacy groups, the NGOs. I really feel like these two sides of the street are supposed to meet in the middle. And I believe that's the intent of NGOs, advocacy groups, etc. And I feel like if the true purpose is to meet in the middle, instead of just getting our way or completely preventing something, then we wouldn't run into what we've seen with these 20 years to permit a mine site or not even get to permit a mine site. Nobody wants to see the environment take a crap. Nobody wants to go in and destroy cultural artifacts and wipe away history or stomp on somebody's house, so to speak. But if there's a path to the middle, NGOs, advocacy groups, they're groups that, while they have different emotions, the objective should be to meet in the middle and figure out an impactful, sustainable path forward. But brass in, comment, let us know what your guys' thoughts were. Maybe we missed something. Maybe we could have dove a little bit deeper. Please don't hesitate to give us your 2 cents. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about Better in Our Backyards. I don't want to spoil too much that we have in the bank right now, but we did have the opportunity to go back up to Duluth, partake in Better in Our Backyards annual dinner. So we will have some cool podcasts going on. But in my mind, I had this vision of, where this organization started out, and then to actually physically go see that and see the support that they have in those areas, the speakers, the conversations that we had while we were up there. It's super cool to hear that story and then actually go and see the fruits of those labors on how far they've came. So if you guys are interested, go check them out at betterinourbackyards.com. Hats off to them for thinking outside the box and growing. And thank you again, Ryan, for coming on the episode and hanging out with us. And lastly, before we get out of here, I want to give a thank you to PC Reps here in Elko. If you guys don't know about these guys, check them out in the local Elko area. They're not a paid sponsor, but I had some computer issues, I would say, end of the year, beginning of the year. These guys said, hey, take this. We'll fix your stuff. We'll call you when this is done. Don't worry about it. We'll loan you this computer for a bit. So I want to thank them again. If you guys are looking for any computer work here in this northern Nevada area, maybe coming to town, you have somewhat of a similar situation that I did. These guys do free diagnostics. That's pc-reps.com. Thank you again to those guys. AEMA, Ryan Sistad, Better in Our Backyards. You guys out there listening, thank you. And if you're out there pounding roads, driving drifts, or pushing throughput, stay safe.
Yeah. This one's for the crews underground, for the haul truck drivers, the welders, the crushers, for the ones who make the world turn while nobody's looking. Mind and mind, let's dig in. Yeah, From the pit to the plant where the iron sparks fly, we talk grit, talk grind under that big sky. Dino and Grover got the mic turned high, breaking down stories money just can't buy. From the driller to the tech with the night shift eyes, we shine that light where the truth resides. Talk safety, talk struggle, talk pride inside. Man, it's the heartbeat where the people thrive. On Mighty Minds, we dig a little deeper. Stories from the soul, not a corporate speaker. Human element, it's the real truth seeker. Every week we rise, podcast speaker. Come Mighty Minds, we dig a little deeper. Stories from the soul, not a corporate speaker. Human element, it's the real truth gold, silver coal, you name it. We break down the process, the blood that sustain it. Presumption flow, the culture, the cause. The ones who made it happen, never counting the loss. We the Joe Rogan of the rock and the dust. Talking tough love, respect and trust. From the hall road climbs to the mill line hum. We bring the stories where the real ones come. Money minds, we dig a little deeper. Stories from the soul, not a corporate speaker. Human element, it's the real truth seeker. Every week we rise, podcast speaker. Money minds, we dig a little deeper. Stories from the soul, not a corporate speaker. Human element, it's the real truth seeker. Every week we rise, podcast speaker. This ain't no suit and tie talk. Nah, this the grease-stained boots on ground law. From hard times to the times they thrive. Minded minds keep the culture alive. We salute the companies that back their crew, the ones that care and the ones that grew. From Nevada to Peru to the odds and minds. We link that world with the honest lines. Dino and Grover, yeah, they speak that truth. In a room full of miners, they the voice of proof. Plug in, tune up, and follow the signs. It's the sound of the industry. Money minds, we dig a little deeper. Stories from the soul, not a corporate speaker.